Well, the majority black town of Mason is suing the Tennessee Comptroller's Office. Last month, we told you the Comptroller's Office was taking over the town because of mishandled finances.
Yes, you heard that right. I didn't say it. Tucker Carlson didn't say it. Sean Hannity didn't say it. Trump didn't say it. So name calling and besmirching someone's integrity and character and branding someone a istophobe, they'll still find a way to do it. Somebody gonna take the fall for this.
The majority black town of Mason is suing the Tennessee Comptroller's Office. Last month, we told you the Comptroller's Office was taking over the town because of mishandled finances. Well, town leaders met with the state comptroller. We're told that meeting was productive and the town was working towards recommendations. But now, the vice mayor is speaking out, saying that's false. They were only given demands. The mayor says the city has been paying its debt off, but there's no money to hire new police officers or prepare for the next tornado.
So this town has been so mismanaged that they don't have enough money to pay for police officers or prepare for the next tornado. And make sure you join me every Tuesday and Friday at 9:30 p.m. on Ock Nation TV for the live stream. You can come join the panel. Hit the StreamYard link. Anyone can join the panel. You're all welcome. Just respect everyone's right to speak and know that you're not the only person up there with me. There's a bunch of other people on the panel. But other than that, everyone's welcome. And we talk about over there a lot about a book called The Sunmen from Sunman Land. And man, I think all the results are in, man. I don't think there's any further studies that need to be done. We just don't know how to run a government, even at the smallest level.
We're told that meeting was productive and the town was working towards recommendations. But now, the vice mayor is speaking out, saying that's false. They were only given demands. The mayor says the city has been paying its debt off, but there's no money to hire new police officers or prepare for the next tornado. The lawyers handling the case say they want to give Mason an opportunity to put together a plan that actually works. We have the full lawsuit on our website. You can just head over to abc24.com to read it there. Now, in the summer of 2020, June 5th, precisely, D.C. Public Works painted the phrase Black Lives Matter on 16th Street Northwest, just north of Lafayette Square, within shouting distance of the White House.
And subsequently had its most murderous year, its most violent year, its most homicidal year in 20 years. The very next year. There, I fixed it.
Now, in the summer of 2020, June 5th, precisely, D.C. Public Works painted the phrase Black Lives Matter on 16th Street Northwest, just north of Lafayette Square, within shouting distance of the White House. It was a powerful and appreciated gesture on the part of D.C.'s administrators. A show of solidarity with activists and protesters filling the streets following the murder of George Floyd and so many.
A Minneapolis resident who recently moved to Minneapolis from Houston after being released from prison on an armed robbery conviction, where he put a firearm to a pregnant woman's stomach while his cohorts rummaged through her apartment, through her house, and stole all her belongings. Which was one of many times he and the Robinson Jackers, which was his crew, had done that. And oh yeah, he was arrested later in the getaway car a couple weeks later. But anyway, there, I fixed that.
A show of solidarity with activists and protesters filling the streets following the murder of George Floyd and so many others who have lost their lives to unjust policing. On that same day, Mayor Muriel Bowser announced that the street was being renamed Black Lives Matter Plaza, saying this to a rather pleased crowd.
We want to call attention today to making sure our nation is more fair and more just, and that Black lives and Black humanity matter in our nation.
Another well-appreciated gesture of solidarity made permanent by the D.C. Council that October. Now, it seemed like change was in the air, that the concerns of the nation and D.C.'s Black community, specifically in regard to their interactions with law enforcement, were finally being heard and addressed. The hope being the building of a better relationship between the two.
A better relationship between the two solely and only orchestrated and due to adjustments by only the police. Zero requirements from the public. And I'm from Washington, D.C. And I've committed a crime or two in Washington, D.C. And I've cussed out police and I've done all that stuff. And I know a bunch of people who did. And if there were 100 problems affecting the Sun community in Washington, D.C., I don't think policing would make the list. There's so many more problems. Policing an area like Washington, D.C., formerly known as Chocolate City, and one or two guys get killed every year and a half unjustly, because unjustly just means that the guy, if he had a gun, he wasn't pointing it at the cops, he was trying to throw it, or he didn't have a gun. Doesn't mean anything else about what he was doing. Just either if he had a gun, he was trying to throw it, or he hadn't pulled it out. He could have been doing anything. He could have been punching the cop, whatever. He didn't point the gun at the cop. That's what, and he gets killed, that's unjust. I don't think policing makes the list. I don't think it makes a list of 100 top things affecting the Sun community in D.C. And this guy right here, and listen, he may know Taekwondo, man. He may be an MMA fighter. I don't know. But man, a world without police, man. And all these Sun teens running around with guns. I don't think that's a world this brother wants to live in, man.
That the concerns of the nation and D.C.'s Black community, specifically in regard to their interactions with law enforcement, were finally being heard and addressed. The hope being the building of a better relationship between the two. Commissions were empowered, studies were carried out, and a key recommendation of a reduction of the duties of law enforcement by redirecting resources to other programs.
This guy wants a reduction in the duties of law enforcement in a chocolate city. I just figured it out. He don't live there. This guy might live in Northern Virginia. He don't live in D.C. and want less police around. There's no way. Not this guy. Maybe G.I. Joe or I don't know, Blade. Somebody, I don't know. But this guy, Washington, D.C. right now, whining about too many cops. Something just ain't. Something not computing. Something not right, man.
Commissions were empowered, studies were carried out, and a key recommendation of a reduction of the duties of law enforcement by redirecting resources to other programs. The budget was trimmed, implementing a hiring freeze that reduced the number of officers on the force. But since then, crime rates have risen, including homicides and carjackings, leading Mayor Bowser to propose hiring 347 officers next year with a long-term goal of expanding the department to 4,000 officers.
And let me guess, he can't put that together. He doesn't get it, right? Now, I haven't seen this video before, so I don't know. But if I'm looking at the SAT scores, because I look at the SAT scores from year to year, because we do that. We look at the standardized test scores. We always cover all these things on this channel. If you new to the channel, every time we do a story about schools, we go get into this, what's going on in the school, even, attendance, suspension rates, all that stuff. One thing we do know is the test scores say that some people are not very good at picking up on sequences and recognizing patterns. So I'm assuming that this guy doesn't get the chain of events he just explained, even though he's explaining them. A guy in Minneapolis, a guy from Houston moved to Minneapolis after getting out of jail, got killed by a cop. Actually, he overdosed, but they said he got killed by a cop. The D.C. mayor and city council reduced their police force. Crime skyrocketed, including violent crimes, murder and carjacking. Then the mayor came back and made an adjustment to her initial move, which was like, okay. So that I did that, and then this happened. Okay, so let me fix it, and let's go in the other direction. I'm hoping that this guy gets this. I'm hoping he understands. I'm hoping he at least understands. Put it like this: I hope at least he understands the sequence of events. He can disagree with it, and I just hope he at least understands it.
Leading Mayor Bowser to propose hiring 347 officers next year with a long-term goal of expanding the department to 4,000 officers. The budget proposal appears to shoo away whatever bit of change was left floating in the air from the summer of 2020. The mayor's proposal has its supporters and its detractors, both on the city council and among the citizens of D.C. Now, what I want to know is, how does the addition or even the subtraction of officers actually address the issues that led to writing Black Lives Matter on that street? How does either make street corner interactions more fair and just? What they do is give the appearance of safety. See, crime rates, they can't be correlated against any one factor. There isn't one singular reasoning you can point to and say, see, that's why crime has increased. There are a host of them. It's quite complicated. Simply adding more officers appears to be more of a cosmetic fix than a long-term one. The budget calls for a $30 million allotment for the recruitment, hiring, and retention of officers, but only $1.7 million for critical violence intervention services.
This guy's crazy, but let me let me translate this for you. They're refunding the police. Defund is dead. Dead. And they realize programs don't work, but they know if they don't give y'all a little something for y'all programs, they're not going to do like they do in Chicago, $20 million, and New York, they're giving $30 million to these programs. DC, like, man, look, man, take this $1.7 million and shut up. Talk about putting more police officers or putting less police officers on the street won't make street corner interactions more fair. Why does this guy care about whether Anton and Marquavius, who've been hanging on the corner, hitting kids with stray bullets for the last 10 years, have a fair interaction when they encounter police for the 400th time? Who cares? Why does this guy care? Like, I'm not for nothing, man. And I've done some things, man. I've been around the block, okay? I've been around the block, man. And I've been around a lot of dudes who've been around the block a lot more times than I have. And this guy cares how their interactions with the police is whether they're fair or not. Are you kidding me? I just don't believe. You know what? I don't want to believe that this guy's tossing and turning at night about Marquell and Daviante getting jammed up in a project hallway somewhere in D.C. for like smoking weed in the hallway and talking loud 3 o'clock in the morning, and the cop find a goddamn pistol on him. And then they run. The cops chase him, trip him up, and fight ensues, and the cops win the fight, and they drag Daviante and Marquell back to the car. This guy's sitting up at night tossing and turning about that? You said people got to get your priorities in order, man.
There isn't one singular reasoning you can point to and say, see, that's why crime has increased. There are a host of them. It's quite complicated. Simply adding more officers appears to be more of a cosmetic fix than a long-term one. The budget calls for a $30 million allotment for the recruitment, hiring, and retention of officers, but only $1.7 million for critical violence intervention services. So ask yourself, how does an imbalance like that lead to effective policing? Or does it lead to more of the same? And when bringing in that many officers, how do you keep the same standard? Which, if anything, should have gone up since that summer of 2020. Any other job expanding at that rate would surely make a few exceptions for applicants in the interest of expediency. We can't do that with the people legally entrusted to hold life and death in their hands. It took this nation decades to build the levels of distrust felt between the law enforcement and the community. And it's going to take more than 2 years to tear them down.
He think he said something deep. And listen, man, the average DC citizen is a wokester, man. They wokety woke, man, down there, man. They probably like, damn, that brother deep. His Twitter probably his inbox, hey, brother, I just want to let you know, man, what you said on the news last night, man, that was deep, man. We need more brothers like you. Oh, my God. There's no hope. No solution, man.